Hi, I'm Philip Rusher from Itasca Consulting Limited, and I'm going to talk to you about picking in InSites. Here you can see some data I've already loaded into InSites, and we're looking at it in the waveform Moveout view initially. And you can see quite clearly a P and an S wave. And so we can look at trying to pick this data. One thing to get to grips with before you start picking too much is your ability to zoom in and look at the data. To zoom in on time, you can do a drag and drop like that to go real close, look at the arrivals there. You can zoom out in time by right-clicking, zoom out with time. You can change the amplitudes of each instrument, so whether the waveforms are scaled by the maximum, the instrument, or the channel. So if we look at the event, you can then see the largest amplitudes and how they decay with time. And you can also do it by instrument, giving you sort of better exchange of how the amplitudes change with relative to the instrument noise. One of the initial parts of trying to pick. Oh, before I move on, there is another way to change the amplitudes. You can look at this expand and contract traces. This sort of expands each one, so you can zoom right in and zoom right out. And this is useful for dealing with this change in scale of different events as they go through and how different traces have different noise levels and such. So you can always customize that to your particular need. Now, moving on to some of our picking techniques, we've got a list of automatic pickers described in this auto-picking section. Please look at the manual for more details or give me an email. We've got RMS amplitude, envelope method, and the AIC method. I think I discussed some of these with the triggering video last month, so please check that out if you haven't. Also, while we're in the settings, there's another area of settings that are useful, and this is for the optimized picking. And this has got a few different methods that allow to look at how the P and the S picks vary across the traces and try and bring them all in line with each other. These are very useful functions that we have in InSites. To use those functions on a trace, you can use this autopick P and autopick S, and that will give us a P and an S pick. And then to use the optimizing, you can click here to do the optimizing or undo the optimizing. You can multiple click the optimizations as it does different runs, so that's quite useful. I'll go back to the P and S auto pick. Now, obviously you have to tune these parameters for your data set. These parameters are reasonably well tuned, particularly this event is very clear. But if you've got different events, you might find that if you've got different data, you might find that those tunings aren't working. And one way to sort of identify, or you might find that you have multiple arrivals in your stream, and the pickers are getting very confused between, which is P, which is S, and which is another arrival. So one thing to do is there's also this draw pick arrival, draw P arrival. You click this and then click and drag down. You can select the area, and then it uses an algorithm there to find what's the best waveform to go around. And you can do the same for S. So draw S arrival, right click and go. And that finds you the best. And the last thing I always find to do is when I'm inspecting these waveforms, is to go through and just tidy them up a tiny bit. So what you can do is look for significant jumps in the trace, noisy traces, and look at the P and S picks for them and manually adjust those. So we have, if you right click, you can get your different keyboard shortcuts. So these are very useful as you move through different traces. So to add an arrival, it's Shift and then A for P, Shift and D for S. And to get rid of it, it's Control Shift and the respective number. We pick those because they're on the left-hand side of the keyboard. So you can have your mouse in your right hand and your left here. So we can do Control Shift A to change this, Shift D, move that. And you can just add these extra picks if you think you can spot something. Maybe you'll need to zoom in. to really double check that you're actually picking what looks like an arrival. And you can see again when you zoom in how some of the picks are very far off what you'd expect. This is quite an easy data set to pick, so you can change these picks quite easily just by manually going through and looking for where you think the first break is. Yeah, so that's it for picking really. There's a lot of different parameters to change with this auto picking and optimized picking, and to tune those for your data set can really improve your fast flowing nature. However, if you have got complex data, you can use the draw pick option to just highlight the earliest thing, and you can also manually adjust and to really improve the quality of your processing from then on. Thanks for listening. Look forward to you tuning in next month, where I'm going to talk about location techniques and how InSites can use a variety of techniques. So I hope you find that interesting. Bye.